dan hadirat yang mengikuti acara kami di Wisma Gilang Serai dan juga di rumah hari ini ya, melalui Facebook. Nama saya Liana dan saya akan menjadi moderator untuk sesi perkongsian kita hari ini yang bertajuk Digitalisasi Kesan dan Peluang bagi Sektor Seni dan Budaya Melayu. Ini merupakan sesi perkongsian yang kedua yang dianjurkan sebagai siri kepada sesi perkongsian yang pertama yang diadakan pada tahun lepas, ya, Hari Warisan tahun lepas. Jadi tahun lepas dibicarakan tentang topik memacu ke arah norma baharu untuk kumpulan seni dan budaya di Singapura. Sesi ini akan berlangsung dalam bahasa Inggeris. Dengan izin saya akan teruskan berbicaralah dalam bahasa Inggeris, ya. Baik, good afternoon fellow guests who are here with us today. We have Dr. Nur Sharil, Chairman of MHF, and also our friends here. My name is Liana and I will be your moderator for today's sharing session. And the session is titled Digitalization, Impact and Opportunities for the Malay Arts and Cultural Sector. This sharing is actually the second one following the first one last year. And last year's session was titled Navigating the New Normal for Malay Arts and Cultural Groups. So this sharing session, although it's 1 year apart, but we hope it's supposed to be a series of conversation and discussion. Yeah. So this afternoon we have three valuable speakers with us. The first is Mr. Saiful Amri. Yeah. He's a theatre practitioner. We have Mr. Burhan Jumadi, a creative designer, and Ms. Faiza Mahzan, a creative producer, right? So they have experiences in their field of work, which we hope can contribute to this topic of digitalization, which is gaining momentum lately, yeah, with COVID and the different things that's happening in the world today. So before we start, maybe I can give a little bit of primer. So when we talk about Malay arts and culture Malay arts and culture in Singapore or in any part of the world, we need to know that it's not just the arts cover a lot of things, yeah, from visual arts, performative art, writing, literature is also art actually, right? So it's a huge topic, huge category, yeah. Okay, so we are all aware that Malay art and cultural groups in Singapore, they are very active, right? In this building itself, we have several HQs or offices for the different arts practitioners in Singapore, Malay arts practitioner. We have Kamal Arts, we have Sri Warisan also here, Orchestra Melayu Singapura is also situated here. So it's not just in Wisma Gilang Serai, but all over Singapore, Malay arts and culture is very much alive, right? And it's rare that in a weekend that the calendar is empty. Ada je setiap minggu mesti ada aktiviti atau program, ya. So with this spirit or with this background, we need to discuss how are we moving along in this digitalization era. How can our arts and culture groups adapt to this, right, and keep up, yeah? And what are the opportunities if we embrace this digital move, and what are the impacts, right? How do we maneuver? Yeah. Without further ado, we will invite our first speaker, Mr. Saiful Amri, a theatre practitioner, a creative producer, director, writer, and actor. Mr. Saiful has taken his calling as creative producer in Singapore's Malay performing arts scene. He holds a special diploma in arts and events management from Temasek Polytechnic and has produced many arts presentations independently and performed projects commissioned by organizations like PA, NHB, NAC, etc. He has also worked in various capacities with many arts groups like Theatre Kami, Theatre Ikan Matra, and many more. Today, he will present his lecture titled, Are We Pivoting Back? The digital drive back then was for sustenance. So Mr. Saiful will be sharing with us his experience in managing and delivering digital programs, working with the arts groups, and the challenges arts practitioners face in embracing technology. I hope I'm right, but I'm pretty sure he will share more. So without further ado, Mr. Saiful, please.
Datuk ada 3. Oh, Datuk ada 3.
Mana pergi lebah-lebahnya semua dalam balai urung ni semua, ha? Working from home? Ha?
Ampun tuanku. Agaknya mereka semua fikir yang tuanku ni datang nak takluk koloni.
Ya. Wahai Adinda Ratu Sang Gila Gula. Di mana Adinda? Kanda sudah datang menyambut cinta suci. Adinda. Di mana Adinda Ratu? Adinda Ratu Sang Gila Gula, di mana kamu?
Amboi. Bukan main lagi. Ayam jernih.
Yeah. See? Raja.
Daulat Duli Ratu Sang Gila Gula. Daulat Duli Ratu Sang Gila Gula.
Sudah pulang kiranya. Gulape dan gulapu. Benar, Diri Ratu. Patik berdua kembali bersama Tuan Raja Kering Maharenggi serta Tuan Putrinya Yambang. Oh, iya ke? Selamat datang, Tuanku Raja Kering Maharenggi dan juga Tuan Putri Kiambang Kembang.
Ratu Sang Gila Gula, jenaka bangsawan production by Panggung Digital. This was first webcasted back in December 2020, 2 years ago exactly. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Peace be upon all of you here. Salam sejahtera. My name is Saiful Amri. I am one of the co-founders of Panggung Digital, born out of COVID-19. And we are a collective of theatre practitioners. And I have been, let me see if I can do this. Yes, okay. So I've been practicing theatre since 2002, exactly 20 years. And during the earlier days of the pandemic, I was a non-essential. Remember? Yep. Can we have the next slide? Okay, clear sign. Back a bit. Yes, okay. So I've worked with various theatre companies and have travelled overseas as a theatre actor, practitioner, and have since been multi-hyphenated, as mentioned earlier. I act, write, direct, manage, curate, produce for the stage, and today I call myself a creative producer for the Malay arts across genres. Okay. Next slide. So, yep. Next one. Okay. So today I am here to share this topic. Are we pivoting back? Yeah, pivoted. That was the favorite word back then. Yeah. So now are we pivoting back? And back then, if we were to pivot to the digital drive that was so hard pressed upon us, for me and my fellow practitioners, it was just for sustenance. We are not doing it. We didn't do it for the love of digital art or digitalisasi. Susah betul nak sebut perkataan tu? Digitalisasi, whatever. Okay, so for the next 15 minutes or so, I'll be talking about my digital work with Panggung Digital, Anggrek Temasek Bangsawan, and Maya Gallery during the pandemic, and a bit of definition, finding definition, what exactly is digitalization of the arts, and why we need to embrace the digital realm, and the importance of working intergenerationally in another tongue twister, intergenerationally in the arts. Okay. Next slide. Okay. So a bit of introduction to Panggung Digital. Back to Ratu Sanggila Gula. This it was Panggung Digital's second project that was supported by the National Arts Council Digital Presentation Grant. It was also supported by People Association Community Development Fund. So, okay, how was this project digital? So this was filmed during the circuit break, after the circuit breaker. Sorry. Circuit breaker was lifted, and us artists engaged as who were tagged by non-essentials then could go back out to work, meaning go back to the spaces, the art spaces. So Ratu Sanggila Gula was produced in a green screen studio with the actors performing without an actual set. So what you see was all green and blues. Yeah. So the backdrop and graphics were edited in during the post-production, and it takes, for performers, for actors, it takes skills for us to act in an imaginary set. And takes a lot more skills to execute the post-production editing, I mean. So all that was done by fellow co-founder of Panggung Digital, M. Fadlin M. Safri, and he's the techie in the collective. Yeah. So Ratu Sanggila Gula was also created by him. It was first written back in the early 2000s. So we tried to get funding for it, it didn't happen, so it was shelved, and it was all God's work that it was presented for this time. Yeah. So Fadlin's father is Tuan M. Safri M. Manaf, a pioneer of Jenaka Bangsawan, and we are honoured to have him and also Tuan Adi Putra as mentors of Panggung Digital. So it wasn't just the young ones that was doing Panggung Digital for that matter. Okay, next slide. Yep. So prior to Ratu Sanggila Gula, Panggung Digital produced a series of drama radio videos. We titled it Panggung Digital 1.9. Yeah. So we recorded readings of scripts by Nadi Putra, Safri Manaf, and myself. If it was drama radio, we had everyone would write one fresh one and one recurrence. Yeah. So Panggung Digital was our first project that was supported by the NEC's DPG. And how was this digital? Okay, this was recorded via softwares, vMix to StreamYard, while each actor was in the comfort of their own homes because this was during circuit breaker. Tak boleh keluar rumah, tak boleh, we cannot work. So yeah, so we still had to do something. We had to earn some money for sustenance, so we did this project. Yeah, so as non-essentials, we could not leave our homes. So we had microphones, mini mixers, cables sent to each of the actors' home, and Fadlin had to remotely access our computers to set it up properly. So it was kind of weird because we just left our hands here, the mouse is still moving and clicking, and then, whoa, how is this possible? Today, everything is possible with digital technology. And we also had neighbors knocking down our doors, asking if we are okay, because people were shouting and screaming and getting angry and seeking help. Yeah. So, but that is when we know that there's a lot of care around around us during that time. Yeah. Fine. Okay. Next slide. Yep. Okay. So producing works in such conditions was quite an experience for us in Panggung Digital. And in between the two projects, with the technical knowledge that we had, we did this interview series, Temu Ramah Mesra, where we interviewed our artist friends in London and those here, so to find out how they're doing, coping with COVID in London and here in Singapore. So we have to thank technology and digitalization that allowed for this to happen. And for that matter, I guess we got to thank COVID for it. Yep. Yes, Temu Ramah Mesra was not funded. It was an exercise just for us to test our digital capabilities. So in this picture, we have Kai, which is who is a Singaporean-based producer, which is in London, who is in London right now. Yep, till today, doesn't want to come back. Okay. Next one. So, what is digitalization of the arts? Okay, so digitalization has made the world smaller, and also it created other worlds too. The virtual, the augmented, the extended reality, the metaverse, the avatars, the AI, artificial intelligence, it is never ending. It is a continuous evolution, yeah? It's a non-stop continuum, and I shall not deny that the arts has a place in this continuum. The Malay arts should also be part of this continuum, yeah? And this is not for me to talk about because it's not my field of practice. My field is a physical space where I share the joy of art making with performing arts or visual arts. So Panggung Digital was not born because we were crazy about digital art or digitalizing art. It was really about sustenance during that very difficult time. So we gather fellow practitioners, we apply for grants, do the work, and bagi-bagi harta lah, for that matter. Not that much anyway. So, but what we did was to apply today's technology on our art forms for Panggung Digital. That was radio drama and Jenaka Bangsawan for the digital platform that is the social media. But that is, the question is, was it enough to be digitalizing the arts? Yeah, does it even qualify as, you know, digital art? So I can't answer that because I'm not a digital art expert. I'm just a non-essential artist for that matter. Yep. Okay. So, but for the thing, do we have any in our community who specializes in digital art? One budak Melayu who can work with one artist Melayu and create new worlds, you know, a virtual one with augmented reality where the avatars of the metaverse extends the artificial intelligence. So if there are, let's come together and make magic. We match ourselves and not me. Yeah? I still prefer the physical stage where I breathe the same air as my audience and where in that air we transact energy, where I act and you react, like Newton's third law of motion. So talking about physics, I remember one of the modules during my engineering study, digital technology, where I learned about the binary system, a method of mathematical expression that uses only two symbols, 0 or 1. So this is used by almost all modern computer-based devices as a preferred system of use because of the simplicity of the language, 1 and 0, no noise. So to clear out all the noise, DTech or digital technology uses 0 or 1. While the arts, we appreciate noise. Yeah? In the arts, you're not able to do 1 or 0. There's no black or white. So more so today, the presence of the colors of the rainbow, right? So, yeah. So how? We need to look back and see how we can take pride in our work on the digital realm. So, talking about 0 and 1 numbers, I have to say, during that digital era, or Panggung Digital period of work, there was a swell in pride lah. Pakcik bangga bila nampak numbers of views and the likes of the work. I can't deny, having your work on YouTube and Facebook, the reach was global, was around the world. Yeah, Panggung Digital reached UK, Australia, Middle East, Far East, with viewership or consumption of about 25K. And this was only during the project period of no more than 2 months for each, because that was the so-called the restrictions that we have for the reporting data. So that number was without boosting. We cannot pay for boosting because that was not part of the budget. So cannot. So had to be honest with that. But for me, it was a good return of investment for the funder, as per head subsidy is about $1.60 per view for the NAC grant that we receive. So we can't deny that the reach that the internet can provide us is huge. Yeah? So it's like, so another project that was involved in was Anggrek Temasek Sebangsawan Dang Anom. This was webcasted on Malay Heritage Centre's Facebook page during the Malay Culture Fest 2020. So it garnered 53K views to date. That would be equal to running about 88 shows at Victoria Theatre. Banyak tu, 88. Yeah? But of course, you can always ask or argue about the quality of the view. Was it just a click, but not watch? Is view unique? Yeah, so many questions, so many doubts about that number, right? So however, whatever the questions are, it did create a buzz about Bangsawan Singapura for that matter. Thereafter, at the Bangsawan Festival Bangsawan Singapura, which was organized by Anggrek Temasek Bangsawan, which I had the honor to creative produce as well, that was held at MHC in August this year. It ran sold-out shows across the festival and attracted Malaysians who were curious about Bangsawan Singapura. So, yeah, it created buzz, of course. So this proves the power of the social media on the internet for our marketing and promotion for the arts and heritage. More so now that our Malay mainstream media is stretched thin to cover our efforts in upholding and preserving our culture and practicing our arts for discourse and critical thinking. So arts group and artists have gone out of their way to produce materials to market their projects. We are learning how to create content, making videos, designing social media posts, engaging with comments, boosting their posts, and it's just so much work just to ensure that the algorithms work for them for traction across the internet. Now, this effort takes time away from the art making itself. So many of practitioners do not have the capacity and means, i.e. budget, to engage a publicist to promote and market their work. So as a creative producer, it is my responsibility to ensure there is marketing traction, and it is my responsibility to create optics for the project. It is difficult, but it is not impossible. Together with possibilities, now with the possibilities in your palm, your smartphone, it just takes a bit of investment of time and money to pay for a good app and give ample time to create content that works for you and the project. So I'm lucky that I have techie friends and my nimbleness in the technical world with my engineering background. So if not, I would just be, in the words of my kids, a bumbling boomer. Yeah, that senior who's resistant to change and digital wave. Yes, I am a bumbling boomer. Next slide. So back to Panggung Digital, founders Fatlin and me made a point to work with seniors as we ride this digital wave. We site surfing with them. We also picked up knowledge from them as our mentors. We took so much from them that no school can teach us. And we were lucky that both Tuan M. Safri and Tuan Adi Putra embraced the effort to go digital without any resistance. They evolved. They were nimble to adapt. Yeah, and it was not easy to make them act in a green studio and with nothing. So it was very difficult. We had to, like, psych ourselves to say, okay, this is how it is. Okay, so what kind of work we have to bring? So it's not that easy. Yeah. And they were not shy either to seek help when things get challenging. So there were times when they need more assistance, especially when they were on their own to manage their technology. So we did quite a bit of time to set up for Panggung Digital 1.9. So we had to show them where to plug in, to set their mini mixer, mics, laptop. Yeah, so a funny story, they were all fine. Thought I was fine, everything was ready to go. I lagged. The youngest, the leader of the group, my internet connection wasn't up to speed with them. So I was thinking, why is it so frustrating? Why am I so slow? Why am I lagging? Why am I reacting? So during that recording, after one finishes his dialogue, I had to start before he finished, just to make sure that there's no gap in between. So a bit of preempting on my side because I was the one lagging. So like, okay, before he finished, last word, I come in already. So that they don't have to edit, because we did it all on StreamYard. So we didn't want to do too much editing. Yeah, so that was a challenge as well. Yeah, so a lot of patience to ensure things happen as how we want it to be. So that's it. Tuan Safri and Tuan Nadi didn't need any campaign like Seniors Go Digital to push them to understand the need for this digital embrace. So, and they are not your usual seniors. So I wonder how did other senior artists and older arts group survive that digital tsunami. So as a younger practitioner, I think we cannot leave our seniors behind, be it digitally or even on the physical stage. And we are happy to see established arts group with veteran practitioners producing works for the digital realm during that time, like Sriwana, Perkumpulan Seni, Warisan, for example, and today, using technology to enhance and add value to their physical productions. Notably today, the frequent use of projection mapping on stage. Yep. So I urge our veteran artists and senior groups to work and collaborate with younger practitioners to ensure relevance and bring the optics of our youth via the use of digital technology in their physical production or online content. So for young artists to work with seniors, just to keep in check our artistic vision of expression, their knowledge and experience could prove invaluable to our production of project. DTech, the technology today, has broken boundaries based on consumption of US traction and optics. Bangsawan Singapura have reached unprecedented numbers, and Panggung Digital have stretched from the Far East to the Middle East through Europe. Now it's time for the physical presentation to take flight and show them live our presentation of beautiful Singapore Malay arts, culture and heritage. But who wants to sponsor? Sponsor the arts for art's sake. Not for the art to be used as a tool for charity, community bonding, social issues. Not that. In our community, we still lack patron of the arts. So patrons of patrons, where art thou patrons? Deny their project, refuse their money, but the art still goes on. Yeah. So during the pandemic, I had another project that needed collaboration from digital technologies overseas. This one in Thailand, exactly. So we had to break boundaries on the back end side of the work. Again, Fadlin and me collaborated, this time with Maya Gallery, a Malay-owned visual arts gallery for NAC DPG project. We created Alamaya, a virtual gallery that presented Jeffrey Wandley's work. Yep, can we go to the video? Just to run through. Yep, enter, and yep, so you can see. So if you're familiar, this is a virtual gallery based on a shophouse property that Maya Gallery used to be in, and ideas from Jeffrey himself, who is an architect. If you're familiar with Jeffrey's work, they are huge. The physical paintings are usually about 2 meters high, 2 meters wide. Unless you are present in front of his painting, you cannot be awed by looking at this projected image. More so, looking through the device in your palm. But for today's generation, this can trigger their joy. This digital realm works for them. The convenience and accessibility works for them. We can't deny this entry point. It's a valid entry point for those who love and embrace digital technology. Imagine putting a VR headset, walking through this gallery. The kids today love this, but I can't, because I'm a boomer. VR headsets give me a headache. And it was a headache managing this project too. The grant provided was only so much, but the output that we desire was so much more. So, yeah. So this is, the page is still alive. You can look out for it under Maya Gallery's website. Okay, next slide. Right. So we must be honest with ourselves. Digital technology is not cheap. It is amazing how we could produce Alamaya, Panggung Digital 1.9, Ratu Sanggila Gula, and Dang Anong with the amount of budget provided. But we made it happen because of the belief that the arts, culture, and heritage of our community deserves the platform and recognition to be an essential in the lives of our society, Singapore Malay society. Through the arts, we can keep telling our story, keep telling our future generation that Melayu Singapura juga punya sejarah. And to continue to tell the story, we can't deny the fact that we must marry our physical practice with digital technology. This is not about flexing, but more flexing about who has more followers, but exploiting this platform to ensure that our work gets out there and our stories are being told. And as much as we are pivoting back to our physical world, where we perform live in front of an audience, where we transact energy in the air that we breathe, we shall continue to learn and discover the possibilities of the digital world to enhance the reach for our work. Next slide. With that, I say, tak ada masa nak merajuk-merajuk, kita jalan terus. We make us, we are essentials. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Cik Saiful, for the sharing. So it's interesting to see the different digital formats of Malay arts practice, you know. And saya tukar a few words that he said. Malay arts should be a part of the digital world. And the digital reach that we can achieve, it's limitless actually, right? So later I'll have questions. I want to ask now, but I can't, right? I have to hold myself back. So of course, publicity is important. Actually, if it's a physical, even if it's a physical presentation or digital, I think publicity is something that's important. Maybe we can discuss a little bit more later, yeah? All right, so let's go to our next speaker, Mr. Borhan Jumadi, a creative designer who is motivated by the desire to be creatively challenged and overcome possibilities. Borhan aims to be at the pinnacle of a creative director. This is fueled by his passion for connecting people and his affinity for finding unique ways to bring complex stories to life. So today, Mr. Borhan will be presenting his lecture titled Adapting to the Future of Digital Technology, where he will share his experiences in his field of work and what are the possible ways to adapt with digitalization. Mr. Borhan, please.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you MEC for inviting. I apologize, I don't have any slides as good as Saiful. I think for my case, it's just more of like sharing session on like how or what I do to get where I am at this point of time. Yep, so I'm a film graduate, so I've been studying film for close to 8 years. So film production has been in me, in my blood for like years lah. Yeah, so I study more on like directing, operating the camera, etc. So this is still in the early days, like before I started the company on projection mapping. Yeah, so I think after graduating from film studies, I was attached to Marina Bay Sands. So I was working at MBS, and I kept getting assigned to handle Art Science Museum. So if you guys know, Art Science Museum is very well known on digital arts. There's a lot of galleries, even museum. They invite artists all over the world internationally. Locally, sadly, no. Very rare. Yeah. So because I was assigned to Art Science Museum, I was quite intrigued by the things that they offer there. And it was a question mark like why there's not much local acts there. People are always getting all these international people on board to do up all this, to curate all these arts instead of getting the locals. So okay, I think putting that aside. So because I was assigned at Art Science Museum, I think what intrigues me the most is at the dome of that Art Science Museum. If you notice, up till date, there's still that projection mapping happening on the facade of it. Yep. So I think during that period, I was just still like wondering, like, what is that? You know, is that like a painting? You know, but the images is moving. You see. So I was just it was a question mark at that point of time, and I think I dived more on like the research of it, the research and development. And I soon found out that, oh, okay, it's actually a projection. Yep. So, I mean, as we go, I went to find out where they actually put the projection, study this, study that. And I got so caught up into it. So I went to dive even deeper. This was in the stage of pre-COVID, still in the, before, it's before COVID. So, once I'm out of MBS, I started to develop my skill sets into projection mapping. So that's where it all started. The inspiration comes from the Art Science Museum. And, after I left this Marina Bay Sands, I started a company, and then, we dive deeper, we expand the team, etc. But sadly, at that point of time, it was 0 projects. It was purely R&D, like research and development. So, we try to find ways to give a solution on how projection mapping can help the current generation. So, the very first target audience that I wanted to aim was preschool, early childhood. So, we did some research development on it where, kids can actually touch walls, and there's some interactive sensor that can, give some audio visual, visual as in projection, audio for, kids to learn what is this or what is that. So we actually dive into it. But I think at that point of time, it's still in the early days of this projection. Projection mapping has been around for years, but not many people know of this. So, I mean, sadly, as we go on research and development, we did propose few preschool, private, and even private and a private preschool. Yeah. So they are not really keen on it. They don't see how this technology might change on how kids can adapt. You see, because I think at this period of time, a lot of kids has been on the phone. So why not just adapt to that technology and then evolve in terms of the education style. So it wasn't brought up. I mean, the idea of it wasn't, they don't buy it. So that's where, it's a bit demoralizing at that point of time. So we scrapped that off. And then I dived deeper into events. So events as in installations. So we did some mock-up using shoes, how we can use like a podium with shoe displays, and then we started to rig all these projectors and then start to, make like the installation alive. I think that's quite nice at that point of time. And then sadly after COVID struck. So that's where, I feel like it's the end of it, but we still push on. So I don't know, it's just a downside of the business at that point of time. So I think moving forward, about a year after that, I started to get more opportunities. People start to recognize and people start to adapt to this projection mapping. And I think from 4 years back to now, projection mapping has been evolving, I think throughout the whole country, be it in like festivals, events, etc. So I think to move forward with it, the opportunity mostly comes from Kampung Glam. So just a bit of background story. I work a lot with One Kampung Glam, and then I work a lot with agencies, government agencies, like URA, LTA, Traffic Police, STB, Singapore Tourism Board. So most of these projects is granted by STBs. So, someone actually recognized my work and then presented it to STB, and then, STB liked the idea. And then it moved forward to, okay, in Kampung Glam, we're gonna bring up an event. Where is the most suitable place to do this projection? So it was a question mark at that point of time, because to be honest with you, when I was at Kampung Glam, I don't know where Arab Street was, I don't know where Kandahar was, so it was quite a new experience to move forward, yeah. And then they suggested why not the Masjid Sultan, so that was kind of my debut on projection mapping. So I work along with Masjid Sultan, Mr. Haji Patel. So on the first year, this event is called Cahaya Ramadan, yeah. So Cahaya Ramadan has been going on for 2 years, and inshallah we'll be coming back for the 3rd year, next year Ramadan. So the first year was quite an experience, to be honest, because I started off company with no projects, and then all of a sudden the transition, it just happened to you work with this big organization, big agencies. So nonetheless, I think Alhamdulillah, Masjid Sultan has been very, 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 very supportive in terms of adapting to technology. Maybe some people, some of the older folks might not understand why are you doing light shows on the Sultan on the mosque. It's quite a sensitive issue, but Alhamdulillah, Haji Patel is really accepting of it, but we need to kind of walk through and then propose okay, this is what it is, what is it for, when is it going to run through on, but I mean, to just share a few challenges on this particular event, it's always about the timing, because we are doing this event during Ramadan period. It's always about, Isha prayer, and then there's this light show that's happening with speakers, big sound wave, so that's a concern, that's the challenges as well. So we have to work with Sultan Mosque in terms of, the timing of it have to be played after Isha, after Tarawih, etc. But nonetheless, we get it through. So I think the impact, maybe to just share impact that I've seen from first year to second year, the growth of it is that people are more receptive of it. People like to see this light show. People stay, people appreciate these things. Yep. So second year was amazing. Second year was amazing because there's a lot of ministerial visit. So ministers of state, even President Halimah Yaakob came down. So I was quite surprised that, okay, it's part of the program. So we've host different minister on the Sultan Mosque, and I think all ministers is quite happy with it. Yep. So I think that's why they want to keep moving this thing forward, you see. Yeah, so that's on the projection mapping side. We are coming back for this year, inshallah. March, somewhere around March. Still be the same. STB still wants it to be at Sultan Mosque. So we have to, keep coming out with creative design, make it more interactive. These are just part of digitalizing. Yeah. So that's on the projection mapping side. On a side note, I think to just add on, I don't only do projection mapping. I focus on augmented reality as well. So back in the days, but I mean, I just share with you, but now I stopped doing this AR because I think it's too much of a workload in terms of your spread of scope of work. So AR as well, I've worked closely with National Design Center. So I think they recognize some of my research and development as well. That's why I was approached by them. So they had this banner installation. I think throughout the years, it's been a norm that you see banners all around places to promote certain things. It's always that physical banner, a print-out banner. So they just want to know how we can digitalize it. That's where they want to infuse augmented reality into the picture. So if you can just picture, it's something like you're on your Instagram, Facebook filters, and then you scan the physical banner, and then some artwork start to move. It's more interactive in some ways. Yep. So that's, I feel, part of some digitalizing arts. Yeah. AR. So projection mapping, AR, and I guess, yeah, that's about it. Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you, Cik Saiful. Maaf, Cik Burhan. So it's interesting to see how, so Mr. Burhan shared with us a different type of art, digital, I don't even know how to call it, digital method, right, if I may, in terms of project mapping. So I will be asking questions because I have a lot of questions, but let me hold back again. Let's invite our last speaker, Miss Faiza Mahdan. She's also, I think, very multi-talented as well. I always see her, at Esplanade giving talks or moderating, right? She's not an unfamiliar face, yeah. So hold on. Let me read your bio first. So Miss Faiza, she is a creative producer and performance dramaturg based in Singapore. She is a producer with the Singapore International Festival of Arts, SIFA, and also Singapore Writers Festival. Her creative vision centers on the contemporarization of traditional art forms, developing new artistic languages, and growing audiences around the artists she works with. She has managed and produced shows of varied formats locally and internationally, programmed and led cutting-edge commissioned works in both art centers and international festivals. Today, Ms. Faiza will be sharing with us case studies of new artistic performances and presentations from Singapore and around the world that have inspired her. Without further ado, Ms. Faiza, please.
Thank you, Liana. I think we can go to my opening slide. Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Faiza, and I'm thankful to Malay Heritage Foundation for this invitation to be part of this panel, speaking alongside my colleagues Saiful and Burhan, whom I admire. I mean, such great work, guys. I mean, people were just like, I'm just going to stay in bed, and you went out and do all these projects, so kudos. So, as Liana have introduced, I am a performing arts producer who have worked in institutions and independently, moving between the local and international art scenes with a strong interest in finding new opportunities for artists to create, art forms to be challenged, and for meaningful engagements with the audience. So today I will be sharing some examples of performing arts projects that have been done on different digital mediums for our own inspiration in finding the way forward in our artistic practices. Before I begin, as I go along with my sharing, you will actually see QR codes, yes, more scanning, that will lead you to different pages to find out more about who I'm presenting and what I'm presenting today. So slide 2, let me try this. Yes, okay. So since the pandemic started, we have encountered various digital performances, just like what Burhan and kind of Saiful shared. So be it on Zoom, Instagram, Twitch, etc. So during the thick of the pandemic, when artists were pivoting, I remember how the performing arts community became divisive on what qualifies as a digital performance. So they go like, no, this is not it, Zoom theater is not it, watching on YouTube is not it, because they saw it as TV, right? Because it's almost like a telecast, their relationship with TV, and it does not qualify or does not have the qualities of a live performance. So where you can see and feel people, where the music hits your body differently, or where you can feel this electrifying connection with a performer. So I want to kind of refer to this Steve Dixon's, definition of what digital performance is, and I find that it's the most, apt in terms of describing what digital performance is to me also. I feel strongly for this. Because it says that it helps, the parameters that Steve has put out in terms of the parameters of what we consider as digital performance is the use of computer technologies with live performances central to its content, right? So we're looking at having moving, speaking, performing human bodies, as well as form of interaction. So meaning that it has to be the audience does not only just watch, but there's an active engagement, something that you need to click, something that you need to do, some like ways of walk, like you need to walk and experience the work. So that's how I've kind of defined digital performance. So hence, this is, with this definition, it is different from TV, film, and video art, where the performances are already captured and you play it back on a device and you just watch without any interaction or engagement. So now, that's one. Why am I clicking? Okay. So Frogman work was a work produced in 2017 by Curious Directive from UK, and the company creates theatre through the lens of science. They collaborate with actors, creatives, and technicians, and they always try to collaborate with new people to kind of find new methodology and ways of working. So this is a story, a coming-of-age supernatural thriller experienced with virtual reality headsets and live theatre. So audience are seated around the performance area on a swivel chair, as you can see in the image, each given a screen with instructions and a VR goggle to put on. And the VR scenes are filmed in 360 degrees. So when you sit down, you put on the goggles, you can turn around and imagine yourself or feel like you're in the space with the actors. And you can move around in space. So here's a glimpse of what the audience sees through the VR goggles. Oh, not this one. Technology, yeah? Okay. Let's try to hit play. Oh no. No. Sure. So when you put on the goggles, you'll see this and you hear this.
Both nights. Upstairs, Mira was asleep. She goes to bed very late, and I stay up until I hear her turn down her music.
And when you move, you'll see the room.
She feeds her fish, and then I tuck her in. On Friday, I fell asleep about midnight, and I heard Mr. Clark come in about 5 a.m. on Saturday morning. I heard a bit of noise about 5 minutes later too, heard him going up and down the stairs. So I went up to the bedroom to check on Mira, but she was asleep. So I went back downstairs to sleep again on the couch. About 7 a.m. I heard his car pull up and Mr. Clark came in.
So that work was created in 2017, and in 2020 and 2021, it kind of got a lot of tractions because it's a work that people are already with social distancing, looking into technology, what can travel on its own. So that is an example. So let's move forward to Cosmogony. So Cosmogony is a live digital performance in real time featuring 3 dancers in motion captured, and they are performing live from Geneva and screened in real time remotely. So the movements of the dancers are captured, sliced up into digital bits and sent instantaneously through the cyberspace to appear as avatars on screen and in real time for a live audience thousands of miles away. So I had programmed and worked with Giles Jobin for Singapore International Festival of Arts in 2021, where it did its world premiere. And since then, it has been selected in 2022 Sundance Film Festival, and the film has, and the piece has toured without traveling to 10 cities, 8 countries, and 3 continents, and has won Most Innovative Use of Technology Award. So I'm going to show you an example of how this is done. What you would like to note later, we'll play first this video, and then you see what it is. So these are the avatars.
Welcome the spirit.
You see, it's a bit too bright.
Let it come in.
So these are the motion capture sensors on the bodies of the dancers, and this is the projection. And what you see, there's the shapes in the screen at the back. Those are what's supposed to be projected on the mapping of video mapping exercise.
Last time you felt it.
So it's a multi-screen performance. So if you see the shape, it's familiar. It's because we can pause here. Because it was initially supposed to be projected on Victoria Theatre, and then we had heightened 2 alert, so we had to stop that and move indoors. But the work was created specifically for people to be at Empress Lawn and to enjoy this bigger-than-life performance that happens on Victoria Theatre. Thank you. So I was actually first interested to work, we can play this video as we go, to work with Giles because of this application that he created for Sundance Film Festival in 2020. So it's called Dance Trail, and it's an augmented, shall I go slower? Or we can skip that if you, yeah, okay, we can play this. So just to give you an example of how this app works, it's an augmented reality dance piece in the form of an app that enables users to bring virtual dancers into the real world through the smartphone or tablet. So it enables for you to trigger dance sequences in the environment that you are in, indoor or outdoor, and you can place them anywhere in the world. And what they do is that they can encourage people to take pictures of these dancers in the world that they're in, or the space that they're in, and to upload them and share them on social network. So in a way that you have all these multiple avatars, multiple dancers in different parts of the world coming together and dancing. So this was the work that inspired Cosmogony. Okay, you can go back to the slides. And if you want to give it a try, it's a free app, and you can download it. That one, okay. I'll stay a moment here if you want to. Oh, okay. All right, the next one. This one is a recent project. So it has kind of more or less the same type of technology as Dance Trail. And this is created by Meta Spark Creators, where they work with 3 local artists to transform their artwork into AR, or augmented reality effects. So they hope to open a space for people to learn more about traditional art forms, and their rich cultural history. So let's play this, and then you'll see how it works. So far, we only have this on Instagram, and you can put on the filter on Instagram and dance with or interact with the different artworks. So. So if you want to macam, even though you have a longo or baju to lipat, right? But you want to dance, you can use this filter, or just dance with the longo or baju. Okay, we'll go to the next one. So that was just an example, local example, and recent one, yeah. So this is one of my favorite, I guess, Center for Arts and Media, and it's called Yamaguchi Center for Arts and Media. And Yamaguchi is so special in a way that they do all these kind of experiments, explorations using art and science and tech. And what they do is it's not only limited to performance, but it is applied to your everyday living. So information or knowledge that you acquire through the experiments, you can also think about how can I make a social space better? How can I provide more access to people with different abilities? So they are into that kind of applied arts and science and tech. So in this project with Israel Galvan, who is a flamenco choreographer and dancer, what they've done is that they have tried to capture his creative genius and try to kind of put that into an AI and see whether the AI could actually dance with him and be another Israel Galvan. So in this algorithm-based art, we will take a complex, fast-paced zapateado, which is like the movement of the feet, technique of beating time with the feet, which Galvan is a master at, teach it to the AI, and using this learning to express Galvanesque qualities via robotics. So then you see robots kind of dancing. So I'll show a video of it. And so what happens when you have another Israel Galvan? And can the Israel Galvan be the same as the real Galvan? So this is the experiment. When we go through the video, do take note of the sound and gesture that they're doing and they're experimenting with technology and dance, as well as the robot AI dancer. Let's go to the video. Can you make it bigger, please? It's all right. I know we lost the sound there.
Working for Wacom Introlab as engineer for 15 years. Durante estos años he dedicado a creaciones de obras ejecutivas y de artes escénicas. Thank you. All right, so I hope that gives you a nice example. And moving to this, so I know that when you talk about AI, AR, or VR, those take a lot of technology and resources. So sometimes you don't have the funding that can support these performances. So I want to give you this couple of examples where Hatch, which is a collective of cross-functional theatre makers, is based off their website, based in Singapore and London. And they explore theatre making to produce original local narratives that resonate with global audiences. So I think Saiful kind of introduced them earlier, Kai, who's based in London, with Faisal. And they want to empower others to believe that every story waiting to be told has an audience waiting to be discovered. So in 2021, they created a WhatsApp play titled Keturunan Rumina. Let's go to the next slide. So basically, it's like going into other people's family WhatsApp group and kind of go into the politics, the drama, the exchanges, good morning WhatsApp, forwarded images, etc. And also like POFMA-worthy kind of forwarded WhatsApp text, right? So basically, the audience experience is you just click on a link, you join the family WhatsApp group, and then it unfolds, the drama unfolds for 40, 50 minutes. So that's kind of a very, I guess, almost low-tech, using materials or applications and technology that everyone readily have, yeah? The next one, in 2021, a group of young theatre makers, so several groups of them, 7 theatre groups if I'm not wrong, came together and said, you know what, we don't have enough resources on our own, but we together, let's do something. And what they did was a digital arts or digital festival on Telegram. And if you can look at the image, it's a bit small, I'm sorry. But the digital platforms that they make use of is like IG Live, YouTube, you even have TikTok. So when you go into this digital venue, which is the Telegram group, and then after that you get, okay, we'll begin the performance now, and then you click on this link, and then you go into an IG Live performance. So these are kind of different ways in which, I guess, local artists have kind of thought about and tried to kind of get on board with the technology wave without kind of being it so cumbersome or too much resources that's being spent on. I'm in my last 2 slides, bear with me. But the final one, Club Quarantine. This is a very interesting, super interesting thing for me because I kind of discovered this in 2021 or 2020, where basically it's like you going into a club, right, to enjoy music or to kind of get together, hang out with a friend. So you have to queue, and then you meet the bouncer, buy a ticket, go in, get a drink or buy a gift, and then you go to the dance floor, you dance a bit, you go to the toilet, come on, jom go toilet, you talk to your friend, gossip a bit, if you're a smoker, you go to the smoking corner. So there's all these spaces that these 2 Berlin based club managers created online to recreate a club setting. So on the screen, you can see there's a dance floor, there's a cloakroom, there's the bar, there's the bathroom, and the bathroom is really created for people to gossip and talk, so private chats happen there. And as you move in different areas, your listening quality of the music change, right? For example, just now we heard the other event happening, and you see how muffled it is. So the sound that you hear will also have distance, will also have qualities as you move around to recreate the experience that you're in this room and you're moving in the room. So I really like this digital venue. Unfortunately, they don't have it anymore, so I can't give you much information, but I thought it was really brilliant. So the final slide, no, I'm not going to go to the final slide. I'm just going to go to the last one. Yeah, we'll stay in touch. We can talk about my final slide later on during the Q&A. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fiza, for the interesting sharing. So the QR code, I think, was a good idea, to actually embrace technology as well. We can always scan the QR code to find out more, right? So here, may I invite our audience to scan the QR code to ask questions if you may. If you like to ask physically, also can, yeah? We will pass you the mic, no problem. We also have audience streaming in via Facebook, so those questions will come in as well. Sorry, Fadli, I need you to log in again because I got locked out. I'm sorry. So sorry about that. Okay, meanwhile, while this is sorted out, thank you. As moderator, I will have my privilege to ask questions. So maybe my first question will be to Mr. Saiful, Cik Saiful. So I think we heard a lot about digitalization and the examples, but I think we need to go to the basic question first, which I think was mentioned but it wasn't explored by you just now. So my question is, why is it important for our Malay arts and cultural groups to embrace digitalization? why is it important, and how my second question is, how can they remain relevant in this era of digitalization? Yeah.
I think it all comes back to consumption of our generation today. I think what Fiza shared is another level of digital art already, and that is for technologists or people who are really passionate about doing art in a technological form. But for us today, talking about consumption is really about bringing our community, our society out into the real space. I think that's more for me, is the use of where the digital world is best to be made use of. And the thing is, having, and also, apa tu orang kata, lumrah manusia ni, boleh nampak benda besar, boleh nampak benda yang sedang diwawkan, like projection mapping, ya. Bila nampak benda besar ni, dia macam senang teruja, you know, and they say, oh, wow, this is exciting, and there's loud sounds and all that. Those are attractions. So, raising children today, I have 3 kids, and their interest is totally different from my interest, and I cannot lock them down with a Malay program. Yeah, it's very difficult. Unless I bring them out to a space, to a show, make them sit, pay for a ticket, make them sit for 1 hour, 1.5 hours to watch, then they will understand better. But if it's on the device, in the digital device, it is really watch, 3, 2, 1, swipe, that's it. They're going to come back again, and it gets lost in the digital world. So for us, when we practice for the digital world, it is for who. And the thing is, we need to know who is our market. If let's say we have, for the generation older than me, it is Facebook. Me, it is still Facebook, Instagram. Younger than me, it's TikTok. Yeah. So this evolution is real. So, but how do we trigger interest? Yeah, I mean, if let's say we were to do that dance sequence with a Malay dance, and how do we make it extra interactive? You know, where the kids can go in and do things dalam dunia alam maya tu. Ya, tu yang buat orang excited lah. Yeah, I don't get it, but they love it, so I don't understand. So tu yang, yeah, how do we marry this? How do we put them together? And the thing is, for us, for practitioners of the culture, arts and heritage, I think it's really about how do we make it accessible. It is all in the palm of your hands. So how do you make it accessible for them to come into your realm and make them enjoy it? Then other than, I want to go to this space. Yeah. So that's how it is. So when my kids saw Museum of Ice Cream, and someone did it's not even interactive. It's just about them walking through the space in fast forward mode. You know how they do the editing now, right? Now my daughter was like, my 7-year-old daughter, I want to go here. It's a museum of ice cream. We did one, and it was different. And the thing is, she didn't like it. But my eldest son, who's 14, enjoyed it. Like, apa budak ni? Yang kecil ni just going in to enjoy the ice cream. But my son was engaged with each booth, each part of the museum. Like, okay, so yeah, this coming generation is a bit difficult to understand. So it's all try and error lah. Kita eksperimen, kita never know. Siapa yang sanggup nak fun eksperimen? Yeah, that's not the choice. Yep.
Sorry. So I think what we can get from Cik Saiful is that although digitalization is the in thing now, I think it has to go hand in hand with physical practice of the art itself, because like you said, I think it's important to note that things may get lost in digital format as well, right? So it has to be thought out how to sustain or how to increase the interest in arts and culture. So both formats must go hand in hand. That means physical and also digital as well, because we have to cater to the young, we also have to cater to the current generation as well, right? And okay, let's move on to Cik Borhan here. So just now, it was interesting you mentioned about the project mapping on Masjid Sultan. So maybe you can share with us actually apa yang diprojectkan tu sebenarnya. Because I think I missed that one. And maybe if you could share with us, you know, the audience here and also at home, what was it that was projected, and what were the challenges? Because you mentioned challenges, right? So maybe you can share a little bit more on what were the challenges you faced when you were doing that project. And number two, I'm also interested to know, is there a possibility, because just now you mentioned about arts and culture generally, right? So I want to know more about, is there possibilities to infuse or to infuse the Malay arts and culture specifically? Maybe, I'm not sure, maybe painting ke, batik ke, Malay dance, Malay, I don't know, theatre. Is there a way to, you know, because here we are talking about collaboration, working hand in hand as well, right? We want to put together expertise, put together interests so that we capitalize on each other's strengths and stuff like that. So I have two questions. What was presented on the Sutamas, and also are there possibilities to infuse Malay arts and cultural practices and art forms with project mapping? Yeah.
Test. Okay. Okay. So projection mapping ni dia pakai projector, okay, and then you shoot the images on the facade, on the walls of it. So the technology of mapping ni is that you can actually splice it into shapes. So sekiranya Masjid Sultan tu ada apa bucu dia gitu. So we can map it based on that. Jadi images dia will only be on that. So that is projection mapping. In terms of the things that was projected, we have a theme, thematics, a theme that we work on yearly basis. Jadi sekiranya in 2021, we work on culture aja. So the images that we are projecting on, it needs to reflect on culture, particularly Malay culture lah. So things like macam apa ni, motifs. So macam barang-barang patterns, batik, painting, the one that we are all wearing, all these sort of things. So it's projected on it lah. So how we do the content is more of animating it, trying to, you know, not just in 2D, kita make it 3D. Jadi macam, you know, people will look at it like macam, wow, asal ni batik macam nak terkeluar daripada tu building you get what I mean? So it's the interactive that people are wowing about, you get what I mean? Not just a 2D images that is boring. Yep, so that's the thing about projection mapping lah. So it's always about the content that intrigues people. Projection mapping is just a medium. So the content plays a huge part of it that people want to stay and watch again and again and again. So then again also to share, on daily basis we had 2 slots. So 2 slots ni is different theme, different content lah we are playing. So siapa yang dah miss out the 8 PM show, then they have to come back the next day 8 PM to watch that show. You get it, something like that lah. So in comparison to 2021, 2022 is about heritage. So heritage ni we have to go down on site dekat Kampung Glam. We have to find things that, you know, best reflect what Kampung Glam heritage is, you know, and then extract it, bring it to post-production, which is editing, you know, talk to the designer, and then we work back and forth lah to design this whole show. Yeah, things like that. So for the upcoming one is arts and culture. So, you know, every year different theme. So this one also we have to work closely dengan Masjid Sultan and NHB, National Heritage Board, because this is a monument kan, so kita tak boleh sembarang taruh, you know, even colour, they are quite skeptical on colours as well. So macam dia cakap, oh okay, building ni tak boleh ada colour merah pun, because red can symbolise blood, you know, things like that. So a lot of sensitive issue that we need to take note of. So it's not just an expression that, okay, aku ada this whole wall, it's all to myself, aku boleh buat apa aku nak, you know, cannot be like that lah. You have to follow the book. Yep, so that's that on the projection. So in terms of challenges, projection mapping ni, when it comes to a small scale, macam kalau kita nak project on this table, it's easy. But when it comes to a facade, a building, you need to look at how you want to mount a projector. So all these things has got to do with scaffolding, you know, and then scaffolding ni terus you need licenses. Singapore tak boleh lari daripada all these things, you get what I mean? If you put a scaffold on a pedestrian way, you know, people are start going to come, agencies are start going to come and ask whether got to apply this, if you apply insurance and all these sort of things. So that's, the issue is always about where can we put the projector. And lagi we are talking about Kampung Glam. Kampung Glam is, it's not as, what do you call it? It's still a rural, no, it's like there's limitation. There's limitation. So macam even the rooftop also, if you were to put the rooftop, it's just a slope. So we cannot just put the projector on top there, then the weight load, you know, and then we have to resort to like scaffolding, and then, you know, if you put to put the scaffolding kat road je, terus, you know, traffic police were to come, LTA gonna come. Jadi macam, wah, kecoh. Oh, and that's not it. This agency is one thing. How about public? You know, orang nak drive kereta masuk Kampung Glam kan, then macam, aku selalu park sini, sekarang sini ada scaffolding, mana aku nak park, you know, and then it becomes a public issue as well. So, yeah, there's a few challenges lah. It happens every year. So yeah.
So it's interesting to see digitalization is actually not easy, you know. It's much needed, but it's not easy. And just now, Fiza also shared that there are many possibilities, right, from the examples that Fiza shared with us. But interestingly, Fiza also shared with us things that can be done or accessible. And another point that I thought was interesting that Fiza shared is that where is that interaction element actually? So that was very interesting to me because in my field of work, I also manage programs, and you know, we have to look at how people can increase interaction. I think nowadays it's all about capitalizing on interaction or bringing out that interaction element, which is actually difficult. I mean to say difficult for me, from my experience, it's difficult to encourage these organizers or groups to maybe think a little bit more on the interaction part. So things like, for example, you know, it's common to see recording, and then they put it up on YouTube or Facebook and stuff like that. But what interested me just now was Fiza's point on digital performances. That there must be, I mean, to make it interactive, there must be a little bit of that live element, that live interaction, right? So for Fiza, my question is, how can we encourage our groups to think a little bit more on that, right? So actually there's a lot of challenges. On one hand, the cost is high actually. The cost of doing things digital is high, right? Doing physically is also high. But we also, at the same time, we want to retain that interest from the audience, get the audience hooked on it, right? So my question is, because I honestly, if you ask me right now, I cannot think of ideas on the go. But if Fiza, maybe you can share what are the ways to encourage these groups to think about how to increase the interaction element. Sorry, it's a bit difficult question, but I will give it to you.
I don't know whether you are talking about kind of interactive engagement, which is like, you know, give everyone a kompang, beat a kompang, that's really engagement. Or are we thinking about, you know, digital performances and getting these groups to consider digitalizing or the digital, or to use kind of like these technologies or computer technologies into their work? Like, I come from a standpoint where it needs to be artistic driven. It needs to be something that would make the work stronger, more effective, that would engage your audience differently, and in engaging your audience differently, it makes them think more about what you're trying to do, or it makes them shift their world perspective. So I don't know whether this is, you know, bachanga with what we're doing today, but
I really think that it's about examining what your creative impulses are and how you want to kind of get that, how do you want to perform that, how do you want to do it, how do you want to reach out to your audience. And so, I mean, there are many different ways of doing things, right? Like even, for example, you look like, I think the Haizat's work with Meta, I mean, it's an old work that, you know, they approach and go, hey, shall we experiment and do something for VR, for AR, for example, and which work, and then you go like, okay, let's experiment. There also needs to be that impulse to collaborate, and that natural curiosity and going like, oh, I'm curious, what can AR do for Kompang? What can VR do for Dikir Barat? How can I have, like, you know, if I'm isolated again, I have people working from each of their bedrooms, can I still do a Dikir Barat? Maybe those are the questions. How do you get people to question the way that we have been doing our performing culture and tradition, and, you know, what else do we want? How are we negotiating our modern day identities with our tradition and our culture? And I think all of that need to come to play. So it's really not, I'm putting a Kompang online, right? A Kompang performance online, but thinking about what does, like what Saiful has kind of pointed out, right? You know, his kids are, you know, interacting with the world differently. And how are you, whether you know your audience enough and go, I want to introduce to my audience this bit about my culture. And the way that I can reach out to them is through TikTok, for example. And then how do I make use of TikTok to think about Kompang again? Kompang, very easy, Kompang performance, right? Is it like, you know, you see TikTok, people are all dancing together, can they do a Kompang choreography together? You know, there are parts that I think you could pull apart and kind of ignite interest maybe. But, you know, I really don't know. I mean, it's a long question about sitting down with the artists, and I guess having these kind of prolonged conversations to dig out what is it that they want to do, how they want to do it. You know, for me as a producer, that's what I kind of do most of the time, thinking about with the artists how to best achieve what they want, or how do I help them to kind of achieve their vision, and what kind of resources there are, and connecting the resources, that artistic impulse, the people, the funding that we can get, you know, and putting it together. So I don't know, it's a very long way. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, actually I was thinking how you're going to answer the question, because my question was very difficult. But I think I was very inspired by the WhatsApp one actually. I was very like, whoa, actually yes, it makes sense. Like you enter a WhatsApp group and you watch the drama. I mean, it's different lah. I mean, it's a different kind of drama in terms of, you know, comparing to a live theatre performance and versus a WhatsApp drama. But it's an alternative which I think we can accept. I mean, I'm not sure about the drama critics out there, but I can. I mean, as a layperson watching drama, I'm not a drama specialist or anything like that. I enjoy to watch, but for me, I can accept it. Right? And it's like what you mentioned just now, is making use of things or platforms that are accessible for everyone, and kind of trying to tweak it and see, hey, what can I do with it, right? To reach out to other people as well, right? You have something to add?
No, I think what was very effective about the WhatsApp group was that, the WhatsApp family drama, Keturunan Romina, is that it is a very Malay family, right? But like, you have all the Malay dramas, family dramas, and conflict and tension, the sharing, the very Malay Muslim also of context, right? But when I was reading reviews of the work, because I didn't manage to catch it, when I read reviews, like, because they also showcase it in London, or open it to people who are based in London, the context kind of went away, right? People don't understand the cultural references. And so I think, you know, when we're thinking about opening up and digitizing, because, oh, there's this whole world of audience, right? We can get this number of people, Malay arts can go out the world, but there's also need to kind of couple that with, you know, context. How do I give context? How do I provide understanding about the cultural references? So people just don't go, oh, Malay people only do that. But why do Malay people do that? How do they do it? Where does it come from? We need to kind of, you know, it's just not about superficial consumption of Malay culture. And so I think when we open up, we need to think about that too. How does it translate? You know, for us in this room, there are certain things that we can catch together,
easily cultural references, religious references, Singaporean references. But when you move that to London or UK, for example, in this case study, how does that change? Because the review was like, I don't get it. Like after 10 minutes, I didn't get any of the references, and like I tapped out, right? So yeah, how do you help to, I guess, develop your global audience for Malay arts?
Yes, so it's interesting. So context is important. So I think maybe I can offer like a tiny solution for this kind of problems, right? Maybe it's also, I just read an article on literature and how to, how writers are concentrated on their own personal or family problems that may not be actually relatable to audiences outside the society or community. So it actually goes down to what are the universal things that we can actually share in terms of spreading our art and culture. So this is not a debate for today, but it's something for us to think about so that, people from the outside can also, relate to our culture and arts as well. So here, maybe, I know we are running out of time, maybe I can read some questions here on Slido. Firstly, the question I'll just read out. This is a test for all of you because you must remember your questions. So firstly, for Mr. Saiful, there's a question that says, will local theatre shows or projects be available? Do you think it will be available at digital streaming content such as Netflix or Disney Plus? If not, do you think it's possible? Okay, so that's the question for Cik Saiful. For Cik Borhan, this is not a question, it's actually a request. Please pitch your AR and projection ideas to anchor operators, childcare centres such as Sparkle Thoughts and yang sewaktu dengannya, as there are demands. So that's a request, not a question. For Ms. Fiza, what's next for you? How do you think the youth of our community can be a part of your projects, such as the things that you work on? How can they be a part of your initiatives that you handle? And so maybe we can start with Encik Saiful first. The question.
Thank you. Okay, so actually during the pandemic, kami did air or webcast their previous productions online for a certain period lah. So also did Warisan and other. Kami also did some airing of their own old shows back then. I mean it's not impossible. Siapa nak beli je lah kan. So barang tu dah ada. Yeah. So like most recently, FFM Festival Film Malaysia, the best film, Spilled Gravy on Rice. It was Satya's script that was written by Arwajud Murad, and it was from 10 years ago with content that is relevant today, and it was diangkat sebagai best film. Barang dah 10 tahun dah, tapi masih relevan hari ni. Because of the content is a bit too sensitive back then, and today jadi normal, so dia diangkat. So tak jadi mustahil. Kalau ada funder, kalau ada sesiapa yang sanggup, anything is possible. We have awesome scripts dalam teater yang beyond what mainstream media can show. Yeah, I think berani tak berani je lah. Yeah, that's what I can say. Yeah, even let's say for panggung digital, we put it up straight. Ratusan Gila Gula, Jenaka Bangsawan tu, when we put it out, actually ada message pasal kecil manis lah. Back then, sekarang pun masih jadi isu. Tapi to stage a bangsawan show is expensive. Even when to pitch it to the Kementerian Kesihatan, yes, tak mampu ya. So tak boleh lah. So but during that COVID period when we wanted to do digital, we could still, scrape a bit and do what we could, and we put it out there. And ada interest sekarang. But when we tell them the physical staging of it cost that much, they say, terperanjat lah. So so I think it all comes back to dollars and cents, whether it can make have the impact on the community. Tu je lah.
Thank you.
No, but Checkpoint Theatre did Keluarga Besar Encik Karim, and they filmed that very well, which I think is almost like your Netflix quality cut type of work.
And if you watch Netflix, there's like American Sons that is based on a play and it's been filmed as, I mean, it's all one space, one staging. The film works. I mean, you need to have a multiple cameras, which I felt Keluarga Besar Encik Karim did very well. And it's a Malay, I mean, it's with Checkpoint Theatre, Malay script by Adib Kosnan, with Malay, like full Malay cast. And I thought those are the things that it's about. Then I guess, as producers, managers, or people who are kind of like trying to make connections in the arts, like where do you pitch it to? Who do you pitch? Who's doing this work? Because I think like what you're saying, right? There's a lot of potential, a lot of good scripts, and we just need funders. We just need people who believe in and create that space. I think recently Sidelines production did Jean Tay's play Boom of Everything by the Brain that opened in Singapore International Film Festival. And there is now, I believe, conversations that NAC is trying to kind of start in terms of looking at local literature into film, into theatre plays. I think there's some money from there, I'm not sure, because someone told me, I don't know whether it's a close embargo information, but someone told me that. So if you want, you could maybe start that conversation with NAC.
Please don't cover, Please don't cover that.
Yeah, please. Oh no, redact. But yeah, I mean, my question is about Malay youth. I don't know whether I work with Malay youth specifically. It's been a while since I've been that young. But I think the opportunities that I try to create is because I kind of see the gaps between your kind of young, mid-career type of artists. So some of the platforms that I've created are, like, for example, developmental platform called Tunjuk Arah. I did that last year on my own, which kind of helps to develop Malay and Tamil theatre directors, because I realized that you have very established, well commissioned directors, but you don't really have the pelapis. And so for me, I was like, okay, there are people who are graduating from LaSalle, from NAFA, people who have taken very informal training through theatre groups and working with community theatres, etc. But there really isn't a platform to profile these people. So I created a 4-month program that is mentored and facilitated by directors from different language theatre base, right? So you had Zitian, you had Alin, we had someone, Joko Katas from Malaysia, we had a whole bunch of people, set designers, lighting designer, people to come in to kind of help to solidify certain kind of knowledge. That's something you study, but you don't really have a place where you practice and solidify things. So that was also one of the aims of the program, and to kind of create communities and audience members for them. So I don't think I work specifically with youths, but I work with young theatre makers or kind of mid-career theatre makers. I don't know how to place people in age and stuff, but who I feel like have been doing so much good work, but never really get those opportunities. So that's one, and also thinking about Malay dance and contemporary Malay dance making, and how when we think about dance, we always think about it within very traditional kind of conventions, right? And this is also kind of Malay Muslim conventions that you look at, the filter that you look at when you watch dance. And so thinking about, okay, how can contemporary Malay dance making look like? And what's the language or vocabulary that you use to describe these works? Because I think it's important to also kind of create these kind of multiplicities in terms of expressions, in terms of aesthetics, there aren't really a lot of spaces for, because we are still very stuck, even though we go, Hidup Melayu, we need to push the Melayu at the front and make it visible, put it on buildings, but at the same time, people have also typecasted how Malay arts should be, which is very sad for me as a contemporary performance producer, because sometimes when you try to challenge the form, try to challenge the content, they go, but are you sure that's Malay? Are you sure Malay audience wants to watch that? And I find that very defeating because I think Malay arts, language, culture is relevant, can be expressed in so many different ways. We are all very different individuals with very different, you know, influences, like from K-pop to American music, MTV, hip-hop, gangster rap. I mean, these are all the kind of influences that we have that make up now the modern Malay identity. And so I think we should create spaces for all of that, yeah.
Thank you, Fiza. So therefore, we can't, actually that's what I wanted to, I mean, Fiza's last, the points that Fiza mentioned actually lead us to the point that Malay arts and culture is not static actually. It's not static. Once we see as static, oh, Malay culture is like that, Malay language is like that, kita tak akan bergerak, kita tak akan ke depan. We will always, you know, pivot back, because we have this idealistic view of what Malay language, culture, heritage is. But sebenarnya dia berubah. Chinese culture also berubah. Indian culture also berubah. All the cultures in the world change and face change. So we have to learn to dispel that kind of thought that, hey, it's different. It's not like that, right? And it also goes down to the what are the universal elements or universal points of our culture actually? Respect the elderly, you know, peace, kesamarataan, and etc. So actually we have to also visit what are the universal values of our Malay arts and culture, yeah? So before we say goodbye, are there any questions from the audience here? That one I missed out just now. Any questions actually? I asked my question, I read from Slido, but I forgot about my audiences here. Any questions? Okay, Faris, you have a question.
Hi, Assalamualaikum, I'm Faris. I'm actually very interested in theatre, although I don't actually do any performing or whatsoever, acting and all that. But I do remember one of the first interactive performance theatre pieces that I performed in was at Old Parliament House. It was many years ago, and I remember it was about death and suicide, and the audience actually got to interact with us, and then like, we had to respond on the spot with the audience. But at that point of time, it was physical, right? So now it's really great to see the developments in theatre moving forward with digitalization and whatnot. So I have just 2 points to make, and to ask actually. The first point is, you know, I heard a lot from, you know, from all of you about involving, you know, engaging the audience at the level where there's already the performance, right? The products are there. But I was wondering whether or not there are any initiatives to kind of like involve, you know, the public, even at the stage of conceptualization, you know, the philosophy and the concepts, or even the kind of like ground sensing, right? Because basically, I used to work in tech, so basically that's what tech does, right? I mean, they steal the data from all of you and they capitalize from it. I mean, they're like the modern colonizers, right? They capitalize it, and then after that, they don't give a share, right, of the data that you take from the people who engage with the tech platforms, right? But as theatre practitioners, when you perhaps when you engage with the public and all that, I mean, that's one way to get them to have vested interest in the development and conceptualization and philosophy of the theatre pieces that you're going to make. And I think Saiful, yes, sorry, Brother Saiful brought up about how, you know, you don't want to be used as a political tool, or like, you know, when people fund you, of course, they might want to instrumentalize you, right? But at the same time, if you know, crowdsource the ideas, you also crowdsource the IKEA effect, right? Where, you know, you go to IKEA, people like to do things, to do more work, because they feel like they contributed to something. That's why IKEA is so successful, because when you build your own products, you feel that, oh, you know, it's my thing, right? I had a hand in building this, right? So I was wondering whether our theatre scene can actually membumi in that way. Membumi is not even a membumi word, actually. Bumi is like from Sanskrit, right? But yeah, like membumi in that way, like get, you know, conceptualization, philosophy and all that, get the audience involved at the start. And of course, as experts in this field, you get to kind of curate it, right? According to your own kind of stance and standpoints and all that. The second thing that I wanted to talk about was, you know, the new kind of like I would say data is a new goal now, especially cloud data. One very multi-trillionaire just bought a huge tech platform, and we highly suspect that it's because of the cloud data cloud data and gold that is in that tech platform. So as data practitioners going into that field where it's digitalization and you have like data, a lot of data, and you can. I mean, you're not you're not the thieves. That means the people who control the data, right? But actually, you're there, right? Whether or not like you can kind of give back the voice to the people, right? In that sense, you don't you're responsive to like local problems, local situations and all that. But at the same time, you're not like manipulated by certain powerful actors who are in the tech field or wherever they are, right? So kind of like giving the voice to the people, kind of like articulating certain things for the people and through data itself. So I'm just talking from these 2 points. Yeah, thanks a lot. If any comments from any three of you would be grateful, even for design actually. Yeah.
Thank you for this. Yeah, I mean, the form of theatre that's interactive is called forum theatre lah. Bila the stage is open, we do a scene, and after that we ask the audience what they think could happen, and there's moderation and everything else. Kita jarang nampak benda ni done forum theatre usually ada dia punya motif, ada dia punya output yang they want to hear, Tapi kalau nak bawa benda tu to the digital world, boleh je sebenarnya. Tapi yeah, I mean, it has to be live, it has to be streamed, it has to have eyeballs and people watching. It's always annoying when I do forum theatre, dan budak-budak in the audience tak interactive. It is also very difficult. Then the thing is also, how do we do a check back? Like you said just now, kita bawa forward, go forward, evolution is real. Kita tak boleh terkongkong dengan apa-apa yang telah berlaku sebelum ni. I feel like driving, we all have to look back at the rear view mirror, side mirrors, just to make sure we are aligned. I always make it a point to work with elders. Selalu tanya, selalu berbual. I spend time, and how our elders are, they can really talk. Meeting patut setengah jam, dia jadi 3 jam. So that's how it is. But the thing is, you have to give time for them to make sure that you are still aligned to whatever that you are doing today. When I did Bangsawan, I could have just gone on and do a real rehash of it and do it totally different. But yeah, I had people to make sure that, okay, no, Bangsawan kena ada ni, kena ada ni, kena ada ni. Okay, I check. Yeah, that's how it is. But we need to move forward, definitely. Yeah, and talking about data and devising a work for theatre, it also comes back to the topic lah. Topik apa yang the audience, the public needs. Yeah, so itu pun it also comes back to the practitioner's belief. Itu yang kalau dia tak percaya pada benda tu and dia terpaksa buat benda tu, jadi tak best. So you have to make sure that it is all, the stars are aligned so that we can do things together for the better lah, for the audience and the public as well. Yeah, that's my take on it. Thank you for this. I believe you have something to say.
Of course. No, I'm trying to kind of go. I'm trying to kind of figure out my response to like kind of getting the public inputs on works. And for me, I don't see it as, there's only just one type of audience, there's only one type of artist and one type of work. And I always see it as layers or as a spectrum, that there is a certain artwork that speaks to certain people and that serves a certain kind of function. Like, as how you kind of say that it, got instrumentalized by, certain agencies and groups to kind of advance certain kind of agenda. And I think again, it depends, like I shared just now, what is this creative impulse or artistic impulse? What kind of work do you want as an artist want to do, right? Because then it's also an artist don't just create one type of work, they also create multitudes of work and different types of work that will engage with different types of publics at different stages, right? You can, I have like Drama Box or Prisma, and many others who would actually engage with a certain group and go, as part of their research, as part of their
of understanding the subject matter. Talking to people who have a stake in the issues. So it's really not just, it's hard to also just go, hi everyone, I'm an artist, please give me ideas on what to do. It's a bit hard to do that too, but it's really about some of the issues driven or driven by artistic exploration or curiosity. So I think it has to begin from that, because no other professions we go, please tell me what to do with my art, but it's really more of what is serving, because the artist is also part of the community. The artist is also living and facing issues, right? So I think we need to kind of trust the artist to also know what are some of the conversations that need to happen. I do not know about data because I never go into like study computing and engineering and blah, 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 or binary like you. But I think for the arts community, they're kind of very sensitive to information and to data. I'm very, every time I work with artists, they always go, okay, how are we infringing into someone's, the audience members' information and PDPA and things like that. We're super sensitive about it because I think we want to do right by the work. However, there is of course different aspects to art making, right? And to this, I don't know whether you call it machine, but in marketing, when you market the arts, there is data that is being used. When you buy your ticket and then kind of tracking the habits and what you purchase and what you're interested in, what, the algorithms on Instagram and such. I think those are kind of used for selling and for, tracking behaviors, but not in performance and not in, I'm not sure, maybe we can talk further later, Faris, about what you mean by using data to amplify voices, because I'm really curious about that, but I'm not sure whether I've experienced it right now. Yeah, maybe later.
Thank you. Burhan, do you have anything to add? Okay, so I think we are running short on time. Maybe before we go, we will have a token of appreciation session for our presenters here. So may I invite Chairman of MHF, Dr. Nosharil, to present the token of appreciation. Maybe we can have the presenters come forward to take the photo. I've been instructed that the photo taking session will be in front. I will call each person up, yeah. So maybe our presenters can stand by the side. Thank you. All right, so first we will have Encik Saiful. Thank you so much. A round of applause, please. All right, next we have Mr. Borhan. Okay, and last but not least, Miss Fiza. Round of applause for all our presenters today. Kuatlah sikit. Aduh, layunya. All right, okay, now we have a group photo. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you. Okay, before everyone go, may I request our audience here to scan the QR code, right? Am I doing it right? Right. Okay. Yes, we have a feedback form, right? Yeah, feedback form QR code. Please scan it and put your input so that MHF can further improve their programs. Yeah. Thank you everyone, and may we see you guys in the next program by MHF. Thank you. And also jemput makan di luar, ada makanan ringan di luar. Terima kasih.